Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation will be about cyber physical system and swarm robotics for military operations. It will be based more from the user perspective and how these systems play a role in it. So, gentlemen, we had our open hire moment in Ukraine when we realized that the robot wars have already begun, and what we created and where are we going to go from here, how the war is going to change. It's going to have a very drastic revolution in the way we fight our wars. What are these cyber physical systems bringing about so much of change? So these systems are basically integration of sensing, computation, networking, and physical processes where embedded computers and networks monitor and control physical systems. Now this may sound very simplistic, but each word of this definition is a whole gambit in its own. It's a complete sea where you can go to any amount of depth. It includes a real-time interaction between digital and physical components, which are very highly reliable, adaptable, intelligent, and having a definite autonomy to it. The examples are well known to the house. I'll not dwell into it. And these typical cyber physical layers in unmanned systems, they are basically a number of layers which are basically to sense, perceive, followed by compute, then control it, network, assess, and redeploy. And the technologies which enable such a system are as listed: artificial intelligence, the autonomy, software, advanced computing, mesh network, and enhanced systems which enable all these cyber physical layers in unmanned systems. These systems are now leading us to the future warriors, the robots. The autonomous robots will extend military reach into a well-defended battle space. So it's not only well-defended, but undefined also, operating with greater range and persistence than manned systems. And this undefined battle space is where, when it says operating with greater range. So once you go to the restricted, it is a well-defended battle space. When you go on unrestricted, it's a greater range and persistence, and imagination and your own innovation would come into play both for the system and its employment. Artificial intelligence ensures dangerous societal missions, allowing more daring concept of operations. The huge gambit of CONOPS can now be war-gamed, decided for any kind of thing. Now the entire barrier has now been broken, which provide greater success in face of increased threat levels and rapid penetration of well-defended airspace, and as I mentioned, realms beyond which we generally can't think also. So as we talk about the warfare, it all started with a melee warfare, which is in fact pre-first generation of warfare, as all the men in uniform would recognize, where we went to our first generation of warfare, which was mass warfare, or more of a positional warfare. We got into positions, we were fighting a positional warfare, which later developed to a maneuver warfare, which is basically the third generation of warfare. And subsequently, we are now coming on to basically fifth and sixth generation of warfare, where the swarm comes into play, and this is what is now beating the maneuver warfare also. So what is this swarm, robotic swarm, and what are its characteristics? Highly decentralized nature of melee combat. So now you have a pre-first generation warfare, a melee combat, where it is getting integrated with the technology of today and creating a very different kind of a warfare scenario. Mobility of maneuver. Now maneuver itself is to move, but now that mobility to the maneuver has been added to such a high degree that now maneuvers can also take place very, very fast in a very quick time frame. And this is because of high degree of self-organization and cohesion which are provided by the robotic swarms. It allows a large number of individual elements and agents to fight collectively. This has different organizational and communication requirements than maneuver warfare because it's a total different realm of warfare which is now coming into play. So how does it convert into a simple system? Like we talked about the maneuver warfare, where you have certain elements which are there, which you can see with three bars which are there, and you have certain element which maneuvers maybe from a flank. So when you have a swarm, the swarm is itself is multiple type of platforms which can be FPVs, loiter, surveillance drones, attack drones, decoys, electronic warfare, and all of these combined together, they make a one platform to combat the mechanized element. The same warfare now gives an operational imperative to us where we create next generation combat capability. That is mass without cost, effectiveness of small forces, leverage of technology, and revised combat doctrine. Now all these are very self-explanatory. Mass without cost. The cost of these drones has really changed the way the cost of the warfare is going to be fought. You can't have mass systems costing millions of dollars and you fight it with the low cost drones. This has distributed the mass or the positional warfare, or even when we had maneuver warfare, into small forces, leveraging the technology. And obviously it has revised the total combat doctrine, and not only the doctrine, it's changed right from the tactical level to the strategic or the doctrinal level. There's a huge gambit, and that is what has come about by these cyber physical powered missions. So what is a swarm architecture which basically would look like in case we can have a mass swarm or we can have a dispersed swarm, depending upon both are possible. And we have something like a meshed network where it is, and from that meshed network where they are all interconnected, we have man on the loop system with or without a choice. Single swarm autonomy suite, what would it definitely look like is the function of find, fix, find the target, that's the surveillance, fix it where it is, its location, identify the target very well, and then engage, attack, deceive or jam, whatever option is. And then is SS, or as in artillery we call it the post-strike damage assessment, which comes into play. So collaborative, so all these unmanned teams can act as a force multiplier if they have autonomy and collaboration capability without extensive human supervision, and that is what a swarm's main power is, that is force multiplier without extensive human supervision. The warfighter's role can be shifted from control to command, and it can be done at all levels. I am saying it can be right from your section level to your strategy or your doctrinal level. It is now should change from control to command, which will enable them to perform their task more effectively. The collaborative autonomy will provide a high degree of autonomy for individual UAVs, enable robust and sophisticated capabilities with limited human intervention. And collaborative team operations enables multiple vehicles to operate as a team with a human operator. This moves unmanned systems to the level of a true force multiplier. A typical example of a swarm where we have taken around 12 rotary wings, where you can have 2 for ADR missions, 5 for ISR, 10 for hard kill, and 3 for DF locators. And this by itself is an autonomous, intelligent, well-networked swarm where it moves, identifies the target, whether it is a mobile command and control unit or a SAM launcher or a EW element, and then identifies it and goes for the kill as per the requirement. So this leads to a requirement of a man-unmanned teaming, or what we call as MUMT. Now it combines the strength of manned platforms supported by unmanned units. So there is a manned and unmanned combination which is basically very well being used by the air elements these days. A typical example of how this rolls out into the swarming into a battlefield is given on the view file. Because of the shortage of time, I'm not going to go through it. So where does the NewSpace comes into play in all this? So we are creating next-gen IP creation in AI and robotics, where we are into heterogeneous swarming algos with distributive intelligence and self-forming ability, large force unmanned vehicle employment packages. We are into man-unmanned multis concept, long endurance UAVs, UGVs, and other surface vehicles, unmanned surface vehicles, designing the cyber physical layer for loyal wingman technologies, edge computing, advance in AI and advanced mesh network data analytics of the next level. This is where the NewSpace is presently operating in. With that, I come to finish of my presentation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.